again to ToyinTube. I believe you've seen these two faces before. These are my lovely guests again. We have Bern.
Hello, everyone.
Omalafe.
Happy to be back here. Again, opinions. I'm not an expert.
So that's your disclaimer, right?
Yeah. Okay. Don't hold me accountable.
That's a good one.
All right. And then we have...
Okay. Hi guys, I'm back, and yeah, we're here to discuss some interesting topics.
Yep.
Interesting topic, sorry. And yeah, we'll see what we have to add.
Yes. So today, guys, what is on my mind is about some parents seeing their children as investments. And I know the other day I was asking you about it. You said something about that only applies to Nigerian parents. No, maybe, yeah, you're right to an extent, but not completely. There are some parents, irrespective of the race, irrespective of where they come from, that's just the way their mindset is. They see their children as investments. So do we even understand? Okay, let me start by saying what are some of the reasons why you think people even have children before we even go into investments?
John.
No, go ahead.
I think culturally, in our culture, I'm a Yoruba Nigerian, and I know this also exists in the Igbo culture. In the Yoruba culture, your children are seen traditionally as investments. And in terms of you give birth to a lot of children, they can go over to the farm, they can help you cultivate, they can help you sell, and obviously however much you spend on them, when you grow old, they're gonna look after you.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm gonna dedicate, shower you with all this affection and all of this, but you have to repay me at some point by looking after me when I'm old. So no one has a pension scheme in Yoruba land, in Nigeria. So your children are your pension. Because it's like everything I have, I'm gonna give to them, which to some is a fair way to look at it. But we now live in a modern world where these people should be able to choose especially children should be able to choose what path they go in life.
So but what I was even trying to allude to at the beginning is, aside from what you've just said now, and I think the normal reasons, some of the normal reasons why people have children is
to live with their legacy.
Or a
legacy that they want to create.
Yeah, you want to pass on your legacy to someone.
I feel like sometimes there are a variety of reasons why people have children, whether it to be for either to live on their legacy, to either have someone to be around. It could
even be that they're just having kids just because everyone else is doing it.
And peer pressure, it can be pressure from family.
Yeah,
but I feel like some people tend to see their kids as investments because they may not, it's like they're living their dream through their child. Sometimes people have not been able to fulfill their own needs, that they see it as, okay, well, you know what, I wasn't able to do all of this stuff, maybe because like now I have more awareness of what I can actually, I could have actually achieved, or maybe I can do this for my child. But that doesn't necessarily mean that is your child's purpose.
Yep.
But we're trying to live out our own purpose through them.
Does it put pressure on children?
Oh, 110%.
It does.
110%.
Just some months ago, I think I read a story about a guy who just got a degree in medicine, and he said, now I can go off and do my own thing.
Wow.
How do you spend 7 years studying medicine?
Wow.
All
Dr.
because
Sid did that, the artist.
He said that was what his father wanted him to do.
Wow.
So people, like you said, like you rightly said.
I suppose for something like that, for instance, because obviously we shouldn't conflate that with parents who want the best for their children and saying that get a good education, get a strong background, and then obviously...
Yeah, but what is a good education? A good education to most of our parents is you have to be a doctor or an engineer.
But
education
those are the
is
safest.
broad.
No,
you can
but
do
those,
a lot of things.
I suppose they're the safest. They're the ones that, they know that you're always going to be in a job. You're always going to have a strong
secure
foundation.
In a way.
Secure. And security is, I think, the key thing that African parents, I don't know about, other nationalities, but African parents, security is one of the key things that they focus on.
But children. One thing that I feel like parents don't do is actually study your children. Study your children to know where their strengths and weaknesses lie in order for you to either continue to develop their strengths or either you see a weakness that may need to be worked on, work on that. Like, for example, I'll give you an example with my son. Like, he's very passive, and obviously being Nigerian, being a man, I was like, oh my God, like, he's really passive. I was really scared for him. I'm not even gonna lie. And I thought, oh my God, like, people might just walk all over him, and you know, he might be bullied. So it's like, I really had to try and get him out of his shell and put him in uncomfortable environments, extracurricular activities, in order to build his confidence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But it's not a bad thing though, what you're trying to do.
No, definitely not. But it's not that. So, but people can see it as, like, now he's saying he doesn't like football. I said, football? I said, what do you mean? Every guy in the UK likes football. But is it because that's what I know? Myself, do I even like football? But I'm thinking, this is my baby boy.
Your perspective on him?
That's what I'm saying. So you might see it as, okay, well, you're trying to impose your own views on this boy. So now it's like, okay, my boy doesn't like football. Like, should I support him, or should I still push him to try and, because obviously you have to still continue to do certain things that you feel uncomfortable with. That's just the way of life. Like, where do you find that balance? Do I say no because he doesn't like it, or do I say, okay, well, right now, just do it up until this point and let's see how you feel about it? Do you know what I mean?
For the record, my love of football is based on peer pressure.
Really?
I'm a boxing fan, UFC fan, maybe I love wrestling. But football, 90 minutes, run around the pitch, what are we doing?
Yeah, I felt really uneasy when he said, I don't like football. I was like, what do you mean?
Tell your son that people that came out there.
What do you mean?
Wait, but did you feel that way because he's a boy?
Yeah.
So you're imposing the stereotype of boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I am.
So what if
I
he
hold my
grows up
hand
and
up, and it's wrong. But I'm telling the truth.
So, what should be the fundamental reasons for having children, to be honest, before we even move into the other things I want to talk about today?
I feel like having children, of course, is a blessing, and the reasons why you should have children is because it's the family unity. Like, where there's love, where there's passion, where there's understanding. It's like you also want to impart that onto them as well, in order for you to raise children to bring and fulfill their own purpose in the world.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I say that, how it's important for us to understand what the purpose is of our kids by studying them. Like, yeah, okay, fair enough, it's important for us to have security, and security can be seen as money, but really, like, are you satisfied with it in yourself?
Yeah.
Regardless, you can have people who are so rich in this world, but they're not fulfilling their own purpose. And some of them are actually very miserable because they don't even know what their purpose is. And that's the reason why we're on this earth. Like, what is it that I come onto this earth to do? Like, where do I play? What part do I play in imparting whatever gift or whatever talent I have in this world? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, like, even if we go into like a more spiritual thing, way of thinking, it's more about like, God has already ordained us as this path of you two have come together because you're meant to impart this specific thing for this child. Do you know what I mean? And that's why it's so important for us to understand, like, what is it that the reason why this man or this woman that you have given to me, why are they here? What do they need to fulfill? Do you know what I mean?
I'm also glad that you brought up the religious aspect of it, or the religious requirement, which is obviously for us to procreate as well. But even though the Bible says this, I still think that not everyone that comes together has to have kids. Some people just have no business having kids, to be honest.
I get it, because it's so easy to have kids.
Yeah, it's so easy. And the fact that everyone, and just about anyone can do it, it's sad. Honestly, I don't like it. Some people...
I don't think we're actually educated enough to understand what our roles are as well. And sometimes it's not until you actually have kids when you realise that, oh my gosh, I brought a life into this world. That means that there's a certain standard and certain information that I need to know for myself in order to impart onto them. And sometimes it is for you to grow as a person, but you have to be mentally ready for that. You have to be prepared for that. But I do feel like communication should be passed down from generation to generation. Are you prepared for marriage? Are you prepared for kids? Do you understand what is required from you as a parent? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't feel like parents really have those conversations with with their children. So it's like, even in like the mistakes that we make of, unprotected sex and stuff like that, that's how kids come into the world. But a lot of people do it because it's an enjoyable experience. But like, okay, yeah, you want to experience this, but really, do you understand the repercussions?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a different topic, Sha.
You were deep in it. But also, I think maybe you should just come and take over the seat. What do you think? So, talking about seeing kids as investment now. Okay, again. Is it really a bad thing though for parents to see kids as investment? Because from my point of view, let me use myself as an example. I might be a willing investment for my parents in the sense that I remember the struggles that my parents went through. I remember how much they've done for me. I know I have knowledge of everything. Well, maybe not everything, because obviously if I was too young to remember something, but at least from the point where I can remember stuff, I know that they've done unconditional stuff for me, And for me, I feel like I'm in that position to pay them back. They don't have to ask me for it.
Yeah.
So that's why I see myself as a willing investment anyway.
I agree with that.
So
I think it's in our natural nature to want to take care and give back to our parents.
Yeah.
But I feel like it shouldn't be a pressure of, when I grow old, I know you're going to look after me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but hang on, I want to because I know what you've done for me. I know the sacrifices that you have made for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to think about that for my kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to set my kids up for them to build upon. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to build upon what I have given you, not that I'm thinking that, it's you that's going to make sure that you're not going to send me to a care home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're not going to send me to a care home. You're going to make sure that my expenses are paid for. No way. Like, I chose to bring you into the world, so I have to make sure that I'm financially stable enough to take care of me and enough to give you your own stuff. I feel like a lot of African parents, maybe even black parents, haven't necessarily done that. They see it as, well, you know what, I've done so much from you, I should actually be relaxing now. You need to take over and do, it's your turn to look after me. But like you said though, it's willingness. It's like, oh my gosh, like my parents has done so much for me. I want to give you the world. Like, who doesn't want to do that to their parents? But don't see it as, I have to. I have to give you, like, you've done, do you know what I've done for you? You have to give me everything.
And trust me,
I want to because of the love I have. African
parents have a way of reminding you
of everything.
Of everything.
Honestly.
Of everything.
Is it by force? It's for them it is.
Do you know the sleepless nights I went through for you? You this ungrateful child.
Honestly, I'm thankful. But do you want to put it on my head? She'll affect by me like you want me to die.
And also, a lot of parents also have to be considerate to their children in the sense of this child now is growing or is grown. They have a family of their own. They have their own responsibilities as well. And yes,
they're trying to build themselves.
Yeah,
and it's like
exactly. There's the pressure of you. You've not sent me money this month. The money you sent me last week wasn't enough.
Too small.
But do you understand that I have kids? I have young kids that are going to school. I need to pay my rent. I'm only on a salary as well. How much more can I do? So sometimes I feel like our parents just need to be a little more understanding as well. So also, if you're a parent and you don't have the means to even raise this child properly, then why are you having the kid? Why are you having children?
But that's what I said about education, because sometimes you just see it as you just want to have kids. Nobody's thinking about ahead. Like, when I have these kids, can I provide for these kids? What kind of quality life am I going to give to these children? No one's thinking about that. Sometimes it's just a now. Like, and that's the reason why I say it's so important for parents to speak to their children, like, to prepare us. And a lot of the things, like, it's like we're learning as we're going on, but we should have been prepared from before. That's where wisdom comes in. Okay, I'm teaching you, I'm speaking to you, so you're not, your mistakes are limited. But it's like we're making our own mistakes and living our own lives without the guidance of our parents.
Yeah, true.
But which brings me to the question: if we never came to the Western world, if we weren't, I assume you were born in.
No, I was born in Nigeria.
So
but I came here when I was 1.
So they were practically born in. But what I was going to say was, because this is a mentality in Nigeria that's normal, in that you are an investment of your parents. In fact, you're never an investment, because from day one that you're born, you have a job.
Yep.
You know, you go to the farm. So, what could it be that by us coming over to the West and seeing the way they do things?
Maybe you think we're changing our views?
That
or,
we're changing our views, and now we're becoming disorientated.
No, me, I'm not changing. No, I've
I
always
don't-
been like this.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I've always been like this. So for me, I try to have a balance. Yeah. On the one hand, I will do anything for my parents because I know what they've been through for me, and like I said earlier on, I am a willing investment in that way.
Right.
But on the other hand, I don't want them to take a piss. That's it. That's how I feel. So there needs to be a balance, okay? Don't say because you went through all of that for me, then you have to keep stressing me out all the time. I need this, I need that, I understand you have needs, but also understand I've got a family now, and I'm a young family as well.
Right.
So you need to understand I have even maybe greater needs than you. You don't have any responsibilities anymore.
Yeah.
You don't. You're just
Not
you
as
now.
many.
This is
Not
a big
as many.
issue.
Well, not as many
Because they still
responsibilities.
do have responsibilities.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah.
This is
you're
a
right.
big issue in a lot of African homes in terms of parents and their children and the dynamic of it. But I feel like a lot of us with views on it are people that have grown up here, and because Oyinbo can wake up one day and see his our old parents and be like, you need to go to a home, and we look at it as a negative thing, but when you've got your life, you've got your children, you've got all the things they need to do, and you feel like the best care that they could possibly have with being at home, that's where they'll get the best care possible, and you don't want to stress yourself.
That's selfish, in my opinion.
Do you know what?
Get an au pair specifically for your parents.
Yeah.
In your own home. I'm not doing that. I think that's really selfish. But I want to go back to your point about do you think that our mindset has changed because we're now in the Western world? I don't necessarily think that. I think that it's because we're now exposed.
Right.
Because even the rich in Nigeria, what do? Do you know what I mean? They leave it. It's because of their exposure as well. Like they're able to financially do that.
Right.
We are now at a point where we are more exposed, a bit more educated. Maybe not as educated because Nigerians tend to be educated, but we're more exposed. So now it's like, okay, you know what? We want to be able to get to a financial position where we're able to do what the rich can do.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's not only the rich who can do that.
Right.
You can be in a decent salary and also be able to help your children get a deposit for their first home. African people don't necessarily, Nigerians don't necessarily think about that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be rich or wealthy to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think it's about adopting the Western culture.
Right.
I just think it's about more of an exposure.
It's an exposure. Okay. And you know what? That's a fair point because things like insurance, for instance, a lot of African parents don't know about insurance or know about pension pots that they can create for themselves, for their kids, and so on and so forth. And I feel like it's all down to education, to a large extent, of because everyone's going with the same old mindset of you're an investment, you're brought into this world I will serve you a little bit, but you serve me as well, and you serve my ultimate goal, and you are my retirement plan. And because we've come from a culture where no one has any external retirement plans other than their children.
Yeah.
You're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be an engineer,
Yeah.
so that you can look after me and feed me. But I feel like the more they start to become exposed and become and they have the awareness and education that in addition to your children, or maybe your children shouldn't be the investment, maybe you should start investing in things that cooperatives and insurances and those kind of things that would benefit you. Maybe that would relieve the pressure, because these people are not, the old parents are not asking their kids for money because they feel like it. It's because they have the need. And they feel like, well, you got to give it. Oh, am I wrong?
No, I get
you're
you.
not wrong.
I get you as well.
In terms of education, also, I think we also need to educate a lot of parents from the angle of maybe the people who are not financially strong, so people who are obviously living probably even below poverty level, or just not really doing well financially. You find that these are the people that tend to have more children.
Yeah.
Because they want to spread their bets.
Yeah. No, that's
I just
exactly
think
what
that
it
is
is.
so selfish. Like,
Do you reckon?
I think it's so selfish.
Because they look at the kids that at least one of you is going to do well.
What quality life? Because then it's like what quality quality of life do you want to give to these kids just because you want to have children?
Yeah.
That's not fair. Like, I
It's very
put you
selfish.
on this earth to ensure that you are exposed and self-aware enough to live a decent
But this
lifestyle
are
and
things that we've
enjoy
learned.
it.
But
Like,
this-
I want you to enjoy life.
but
Don't be going through struggles.
But this are things
I'm
that
going
we've
through my
learned
from
struggles. You
exposure.
should go through less.
That's true. That's where the education comes
That's
from.
right, because these are things that we've learned for exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean about exposure.
And you find how many rich people are really having 5, 6, 7. Some of them do, but it's not love. It's not love.
It's
them.
rare. It's
It's
rare.
rare.
It's rare.
P Diddy had 6.
For PDD is one. Because you have to remember PDD, that guy, he beat around the bush a lot.
And even to be honest, and even
I
if
screwed that in there. Something silly.
even if rich people do it, they have the means
They
to
have
look
the
after
means,
those
yeah,
kids.
yeah,
So what
exactly.
excuse have you as a poor person having more than one child? I don't understand.
It's
it.
not even just about poor, it's also about like, okay, are you comfortable? Are you stable? Because like, even though you may have like a certain salary, is it enough to feed your kids?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, are you okay? Like, even stuff like going on holiday. Do you not want to go on holiday?
But guys, we have to remember something.
Or is
because-
that expectation too
What are
high?
you talking
Because
about holiday?
guys, we have to remember the mentality.
What, are you saying that you don't want to go on holiday with your babies?
Yes.
Yeah, these are things that exposure has created for us.
But that's what I'm saying. Is that
because-
too high?
because-
But then
You're
expectation-
saying that
but-
because you're here, you're exposed.
Yeah.
If we go back to Africa, where we come from, for instance, there are people who live in one room with 7 children.
children,
They
yeah.
don't know anything about
That
going
is
on
what I'm
holiday.
saying.
But
It's
hold
selfish.
on, hold on, guys, hold on. Because we got to look at it from a traditional perspective, and we have to look at it as well from a modern day perspective. The traditional approach is, you have a scattergun approach. Let me have 10 kids. One of them's going to do well and deliver us from poverty.
Yeah.
That's mindset because the children are gifts from God, and
That isn't wise. That isn't wise though.
Hold
The thing is that
on.
that isn't mine.
Hold
Okay,
on.
sorry,
The second part of it is that it's the Ubuntu word. It takes a village to raise a kid. It's very prevalent over there. So for them, they don't have to worry about child maintenance. All they have to worry about is schooling.
Yep.
But when we think about it as well, because when we think about the issue of poverty in, say, Nigeria, for instance, a land that has so much resources, so much God-given blessings, and that's been abused over time. People, what choices do they have? What options do they have?
Other than
And
to
that's
have
the-
kids.
Because
Why?
when you're
And
poor,
that's
you're
the
sad.
reason
You have
why-
sex now.
That's the reason why it's a continuous cycle, because you're having that poor man mentality. That's why it's a continuous cycle. And the thing is that people would use the Bible to justify and say that children are a blessing from God.
That's what they keep saying.
But you have to be smart. Like, okay, they're a blessing from God, but the way that they are blessed to you is it's not in the way that you may think that they're blessed.
Yeah.
Because when you're bringing them into this life and you're not able to feed them every single day, you're wondering where you're gonna get food from. You're actually it's like you're cursing your blessing. If that makes any sense, because you're inflicting pain and suffering in that child's life.
But
They
this
don't even know that child's gonna live.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But again, thankfully, we have the exposure of the knowledge we have from here, because what we're saying right now is going to be foreign to a lot of people over there, because that's not the way they've been brought up. That's not what they've learned. That's not what they know. What we know now is based on, like, when I say West, I'm saying, okay, Europeans, they have children based on what they can afford, because everything here has a price on it. Schooling has a price. Uniform has a
Everything
price.
in the world has a price.
Absolutely.
But we're just not
Especially
thinking
this
about
side
it.
though. Some things you can still get for free in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, and
I can tell my neighbor, can you quickly look after my child for
Yeah.
me? Here, you have to have
Yeah.
money for childcare.
childcare. So you got to look at it from a perspective of cost.
But you have family.
What,
Well,
over
some
here?
people may have family over here, some people may not.
But the people that have
That's why
family
it
have more
becomes
kids.
difficult.
They tend to have more kids as well when they have family. So how much they have in their pockets is not relevant when they have family, because they don't mind not being able to fend for them as long as they can
I
afford.
don't know.
So-
I
so
don't
afford
know
to.
if people who have more family around here have more kids. I don't know. I still feel like some people still have
Because
that
even
mentality
when you
of-
look at the Oyinbos, right, the Oyinbos on benefits, they have a lot more children than the richer ones.
Yeah, because they want more benefits. It's different.
Exactly,
It's a different mindset,
but children again for them, it's an investment. So it's not just us. This is universal.
It is universal.
It's universal.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you. It is universal. And initially, when you did ask me that, I was thinking, oh yeah, that's Nigerian. But I
Yeah.
thought, no, it actually is universal.
And they have more
Even with
kids
the
to
rich
get bigger
people.
houses. Yeah.
Yeah. even with the rich people you hear about, like child stars, it's because their parents see them as investments, and that's the reason why they put them in Hollywood to bring money home.
That's right. And in fact, one common one is the Britney Spears situation now.
Exactly. And she's going crazy. Right. But you see that's the reason why a lot of child stars don't transition into adult stars or, Hollywood actors.
Because they felt exploited.
Because of what they go through.
So this means universal is a universal problem. But so do we say it's a poverty mentality problem, or do we say is based on perspective? Because if you have a perspective that my child is an investment,
I think it's circumstantial.
Yeah. Okay. In Nigeria, for instance, it's a lot more monogamous. But in the previous generations, people come from polygamous families. So I think there's been a vast improvement because you would have a man who would have 4 wives, 5 wives, 20 children that it could barely fend for. But as far as it's concerned, they're all investment. So now you have 1 wife, you have several children. So it's progressively, it's getting better, right? Because there's a lot less children, still a scattergun approach. And I feel like it's based on culture mentality over there. Yeah. So I don't think it's narcissistic because no one goes out that way to think, yes, so let me plan my future.
Who said that? Who said no one does that?
No, I'm saying I don't think, because I feel like it's ingrained in the culture. Because take for instance, even here in the West, and this is a lot of pressure on young people, you go to uni, you come out, your parents are looking at you funny, like, when are you getting married? When are you bring that? And the sole purpose of it is, okay, let's have a big party, but then
let's show our friends.
Show our friends, and then progressing from that is, and when are the kids coming? Because the fruit of marriage to any African is what?
Children, absolutely.
Babies. Yeah. You get married and they're asking you.
When I was married, I'm married because I love him, and so it's not necessarily because you get when people are married and say, I don't want kids. But as an African, can you tell your parents I don't want kids?
You want to
you
die
young. Because I think people are becoming a bit more understanding.
But that's based on exposure.
Have kids.
That's based on exposure. It's not cultural. It's not natural.
No, yeah.
And how did our parents take it? They'll just,
yeah,
they would die. They'll fast.
Right there. Just die.
On the mountain, in the valley, on the land, in the sea.
This person's parents, do they know?
I think she's finding it quite hard to speak to her parents about.
Why does it? Anyway,
it's not as easy though. It depends. Like you said, it's cultural, isn't it?
It's like a lot of pressure.
Then and it's not even just your parents. You also have to think about your parents' friends.
So it's society.
I'm not going to tell my friends now. I'm not going to have any grandkids.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a joyous thing to have grandchildren. Like your family is growing.
That's right. And it's ingrained in our culture. Sorry to interrupt. It's ingrained in our culture. So in fact, your laughter, you're looked down upon if you're a married person, you've been married longer than a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's unheard of that you're married for 2-3 years and you decided you don't want kids yet. People are going to sit you down and have conversations with you. But
I think that it's such a sensitive topic because some people are going through like
not being able to have kids.
Yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. Infertility.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about people that decided willfully that they're not gonna have kids. People are gonna sit them down. Pastor will come and have a conversation.
And pray for them.
You guys need to start thinking about your future because I don't think. Well, let me not call it a problem, but this is something that's ingrained in our culture. Is that the purpose of you having a partner, having a wife, having a husband? To have kids. It's nothing else other than that.
It's true actually, because they don't really talk about love.
So we're not taking from that to say that okay, so our culture is centered around when 2 people come together, it's for the purpose of having kids. So the more kids you have, the more blessed people would deem you to be.
Yeah.
So is it necessarily an investment or more like I don't want society to frown upon me? Okay,
so in conclusion, what do you say? Investment or it's not an investment?
As an African, right? Children, the Bible says children are heritage from God. But an African, children are an investment from God.
I won't see them as investments. I think I would actually classify them as blessings because it's like it's like a revealing of who you are, like self-reflecting. So it's like, okay, well, I have kids now, so I want the best for my kids. That means that it has to bring out the best in me, if that makes any sense.
So ultimately, it's still down to you then. ultimately.
Absolutely.
So narcissism that she talked about is still down to that.
No, but if I'm the best for myself, I'm the best for my children. Because you want to bring out the best in your kids. Do you get what I mean?
But it's still down to your perspective.
No.
It's down to your perception of it.
It's not down to my perception. It's because like I have to be sacrificial enough for my own wants.
Sacrifice, investment.
Exactly. Because
let's
let me finish now. I haven't finished. I have to be sacrificial enough. Like, for example, like, okay, I'm going to do, there might be certain things that I want to do, but I have to be able to get to a certain level to provide for these kids, to give them stability. Do you know what I mean? To give them security. How is that? Isn't that the best in me?
Of course.
Do you get what I mean? Like, how is that me being narcissist? Because I'm thinking, no, don't you want to give them stability? You have to be stable yourself. How am I going to give stability if I'm not stable?
It's true.
So at the end of the day, when it comes to seeing kids as investment, I think it's just best to not go down that road if you're going to be having like that premeditated thoughts, or intentions.
But isn't that what society sort of imposes on you as? And I want, because I don't really know other cultures. I'll say from an African perspective, isn't that what society requires from you, in a way? Because I don't think this issue comes from the bottom up as an individual. I think it comes from society making that requirement from you.
Yeah, but I quite understand. But at the end of the day, you need to get to that understanding of what you want for yourself. We all need to get to the point where we just don't put society ahead of our own needs.
But can we help it? Can we help it? Because look at this.
But I feel like society's going the opposite way, though. I feel like society's going a way of 1 or 2 kids. I don't think that every people
in the West, yeah. But think about it this way.
And in Nigeria too.
Let's put it in perspective.
I mean, in Africa.
Let's put it in perspective, right? Let's assume you're a farmer, right? You have 1 or 2 kids, right? And they come to the farm with you. And let's say you have a huge farm. You have 2 kids to till the land, and then the rest you're gonna have to have people to cover it, which is expenses that's come out of your pocket. And your neighbor now at the farm has 10 children that come to the farm with him. All he has to worry about is feeding his kids, but they come to work every day. Now, who's gonna tend to be more successful as a farmer? This person or that person?
It depends on your business strategy. That's what.
No, I agree. But you lot going to the same farmers market. You lot going to the same. So at the end of the day,
I know what you mean.
Distribution channel is the same.
Yeah, I know, because your expenses are different because you have to pay for your employees.
Right. So when you look at it from a perspective of this is what the tradition is, this is what society imposes, then it takes a different perspective, because everything that we're talking about now is what the society in the West, not necessarily imposes, but that's what it exposes to. So this is knowledge that we've gained from observing the other side, and a lot of these people don't have the other side over there, but we still have a lot of our society that permeates into the West, where kids are still pressured into getting married and having children and all of this. And a lot of times
I don't think that will ever stop, though.
I don't think it ever stops. It's ingrained in our culture.
That,
but it goes back to the point where...
I think that is in every culture as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But our culture a lot more, I think.
I think it's because we're in it, so we feel
because
it.
we're in it. Because if you speak to Asians, our culture is quite
even
similar to Asians.
Yeah.
If you speak to them, they might have the same views.
And even white people, like I have like white.
Oh, there's a lot of pressure as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's look at it from so we have parts of our culture that we can't escape. Perhaps that's a part of culture that people who are not exposed to what we know can't escape either. So
that's a good point.
Is it fair to say don't do it, or it's like thank God for the benefits of being here and being exposed to the culture that we've been able to imbibe, because now we know that we have a choice. And count our blessings.
Yep. What I'm just gonna say, final notes, is that if you're out there and you're planning to have kids because you want to secure your future, please don't do it. Just stay away from that sperm or that egg, whatever. Just don't do it, guys. Okay.
My perspective is, if you want to have a very happy old age, and you want your children to look after you, you should invest in them now.
What do are you talking about? Don't do
blackmail
that.
them, psychologically blackmail them.
Psychologically.
It's what society demands of you.
What?
No, I'm joking.
Okay, so again, like we've already talked about today, kids are blessings. Let me say children. Children are a blessing. They're supposed to be a blessing to us. And if you're having kids because you want to secure your future, because you're afraid that one day you're going to grow old and you're going to have an empty nest, or you're having kids because you want to mend your relationship with your husband or with your wife, guys, don't do it. Just stay away. If you're having kids,
That's the truth.
Or you want to chop the man.
or you want to have access to social welfare benefits, guys, do not do it. Just don't. All right.
But my view is, and I'm being 100% serious here, is education exposure, because we now know that there are other options for your retirement plan, including insurance, including pension, and wherever you are in the world, you can have access to that. And there are a lot of startups, a lot of new and existing businesses that provide us sort of things. And I feel like when you have a pension, you don't have to rely on children. When you have insurance, you don't have to rely on children. When you have cooperatives, you don't have to rely on children. So these are things that people should look more into, as opposed to looking at children as a sole investment plan, source of their retirement.
Yeah. So you heard it from him. All right. This is the expert in those areas.
I guess in this conversation, I'll become an expert. I started off being a rookie.
Ben and Okoyemi, it was a pleasure having you guys here again today. Right? It's always a pleasure to have you here. Anyways.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so if you guys enjoyed the topic of today, please like and share the video, alright? And subscribe and click on the bell icon to get notifications of my videos. In the meantime, guys, enjoy your week. Bye.
Bye.